there's a lot going on right now, and it's time for us to get in the game. You know, not only with the bilateral trade agreements that are pending, but also with the GSPs and the other regional developing countries. And I think it's long past due. Obviously, we just had a mock markup in the Ways and Means Committee, where some of the preferences were included with the Colombia trade agreement, so we're trying to move forward on that, and also trying to find the sweet spot when it comes to TAA, or Trade Adjustment Assistance Reauthorization. Some good news this week. I'm talking to Chairman Camp. Apparently there's been progress made in the Senate where members have been identified who would be willing to invoke cloture and bring TAA up for consideration, and that's really the last remaining stumbling block that we have to move forward on these bilateral trade agreements. And I think it is important that we do this. For too long we've been standing on the sidelines when it comes to a meaningful engagement in our trade policy with the rest of the world. We know where Doha is right now in Geneva. It's been very disappointing that things have bogged down, and many believe is on life support right now. And yet this latest round of the multilateral trade negotiation was supposed to be the opportunity to bring the developing world into the global trading regime. And we're missing that opportunity right now with the failure of Doha. And I and others have been talking and seeing what it might take to be able to re-engage and try to move this forward. But it is difficult, and I think you're all familiar with the obstacles that we face there. So hopefully with TAA moving forward, we'll be able to get together on the bilaterals, get the preferences attached to it so we can move that along. We'll be able to make some progress on the trade front. But let me also take a quick moment too, because there's obviously a huge impact in regards to our foreign policy when it comes to our relationship with the developing world and their ability to maintain a sustainable economic environment within their own borders. And I and others have for a very long time felt that these large taxpayer subsidies that are going to a few but very large agribusinesses and large entities not only distorts their own marketplace at home, but has had a terrible distorting effect on trade policy. We're learning that through WTO challenges against us, and most recently the Brazil Cotton Challenge. I've been leading the effort there to see what we can do to touch the pressure points to reform our own cotton domestic subsidy program here, rather than creating another layer of subsidy that is now going to subsidize cotton producers in Brazil. I think that is a silly response to the WTO decision that was handed down, and you would think our reasonable response to that would be to reform our own cotton subsidy program, but that hasn't happened. But in the context of deficit reduction right now, things are moving along fairly quickly. There is some signs of support in regards to looking at these Title I subsidy programs under the Farm Bill for substantial reductions. And again, I think that's long overdue, and I think it's one of the best things we can do for the developing world, given the agrarian nature of their economies, and making sure that they have a level playing field and the ability to be able to produce themselves, rather than deal with the flooding of the marketplace. So there's a lot going on, a lot of different levels, and hopefully we're at the verge of some major breakthroughs here, so we can start moving forward on a more aggressive and forward-looking trade policy, one that respects our position in the global trading world, but also the emergence of the developing world too, and what that looks like over the next 50 years. I think we have an opportunity through trade policy and otherwise to use that as a tool, not only for goods and products and meaningful economic engagement, but a tool in our diplomatic arsenal. Because I do subscribe to the Cordell School of Trade, and that it's more than just goods and products crossing borders. When that happens, armies don't. And I think the more we can do that and have a positive engagement with the rest of the world, the better off we're going to be. So I'm a big fan of Churchill. You know, Churchill was fond of saying that he has all the confidence in the world that the Americans are going to make the right decision, but only after we exhaust all other options first. And I think that's kind of what we're doing right now, is exhausting all other options until we can start getting these important policy decisions across the finish line. So give us a little bit more time. I think there's glimmers of hope out there that we haven't seen for quite some time. And welcome all today. I was happy to co-host this. I think it's very timely that you're all gathering and having this conversation today. Again, an excellent panel discussion taking place, and hopefully the Congress will do our role in the coming days. I'd be happy to take any comments or questions that anyone might have at this time. Or maybe not. Maybe they're all covering it.
You did such a great job in carrying the message. I think you silenced the room.
Yeah, since the Congressman is so kindly offered it.
Yes, sir.
Steve Landy, Manchester Trade. First, thank you very much for your explanation of the cotton vote. It didn't get the fair publicity in the sense of